Orthodoxy, the first Sunday of Great Lent, and in it we commemorate the triumph of Orthodoxy, which refers to when icons were finally restored to the churches, whatever of them were left, of course, because for a couple of centuries, in the 8th and 9th century, the emperors were not very predisposed to, they called themselves Orthodox, but they weren't very Orthodox. They weren't very Christian, for that matter. In fact, they burned most of the icons. A lot of the ones that we have from before then survived, like from St. Catherine's Monastery in Mount Sinai. It was far away from the emperor, and the emperor didn't want to go into the desert, so fortunately they were able to save some of the icons from their reach. And so the oldest icon we have is actually the Sinai Panic Parade, or Christ the Almighty of Mount Sinai, which is the one where if you take and divide the space, one side shows the human side, the other is the divine side. And that's the oldest one we have. It's handwritten, and of course we have some others that are reputed to be written by St. Luke himself, but they also survived. But other than that, that's what we have that we know about. Of course, the church is smart, so we likely have more than that. And they just didn't announce any that are older than that survived to this day, because thieves are not very nice, and they don't respect churches, and they don't respect God. So, in any case, so anything that's not in the Vatican vaults or some other vault is not really very safe these days. So in any case, this triumph of Orthodoxy, it means a lot more than just pictures. You know, icons declare that Christ came to save man, the whole universe, and especially we human beings with all our senses. You know, but anyway, during World War II or Vietnam, for example, or the Gulf Wars, as men went out to the battlefield, the only connection that they had with their wives was what? What's that? Letters? Yeah, it's the only contact that they had. Photograph, right? It's an image. So they could have letters back and forth was the only contact, was the only direct contact, which, by the way, what do we have direct contact from God every single week in the readings, right? But we also have images that were given to us directly. The first image that was ever given wasn't written or painted at all. It was when King Abgar of Edessa came to the apostles and said, "I need to see Jesus." And the apostles said, "There's no way he can come to you." But we went and told him, and here he gave you this. And what it was an imprint of his face. And so we still have an icon of that. It's called the Holy Mandilion of the face of Christ, where it was imprinted there. Also, the veil of Veronica is another such of those. So, right, it's pictures. When men are out in the battlefield and they lay down to sleep, what do? They pull out, they reread the letters, and they pull out the picture and say, "Good night, honey." And so, also, we immediately see and understand, right, the importance of icons. But icons are so much more than just pictures. And some call them windows into heaven, but they're really much more than that. They're portals into heaven. You know, oftentimes people think that the iconostas is here to separate the altar from the nave. It's not. By the way, the altar begins out here. This is the beginning of the beam. It's not here to separate. is here to connect. Because these are portals to heaven. To remind us that Christ is here. That the Mother of God is here. That the saints are here in our midst. That when we meet together, we meet not just together with each other, with the entire church in heaven and on earth. That is a beautiful miracle that God gives us every single week. And the icons are here as in memory of that. And so we have these portals to heaven. You know, and so just like the soldier on the battlefield, who the only connection with his wife is that picture in those letters. And those, and the same with his children. You know, sometimes we humans will do anything not to feel pain, right? So, years ago, as I was talking with a soldier, he couldn't look at a picture of his wife. He put it away because he couldn't. It was too much pain that he was feeling distancing. He didn't think he was going to survive. He wanted to survive, but he really didn't think he was going to survive. He'd never see her again, so it was just too much pain to look at her picture, so he put it away. And again, we humans will sometimes do anything not to feel our pain. We pretend that it's not there. Then when we begin to feel it, instead of feeling it, we'll suppress it. Maybe with alcohol or drugs. Maybe with gambling or some other bad pastime. Or we will put up a wall between ourselves and our emotions so that they can't pass over to us and put on a tough face. But the truth is we need our pain. We need to feel our pain sometimes. And when we allow ourselves to feel it, only then can we start to ask ourselves and identify where that pain comes from and turn things around. So, we have icons because we're psychosomatic beings, which comes from two Greek words, psychon, meaning the soul, and soma, meaning the body. We're psychosomatic. We're physical beings, and we need to be physically near those whom we love, not just in mind, but bodily. And again, sometimes this can't be direct, as with the soldier on the battlefield or the sailor at the sea with the picture and the letters. But they can be near with an image of their beloved, and those letters back and forth. But someday they will go home, and they will be near directly. And this is why the Orthodox Church emphasizes the spiritual and the physical together, not as separate things, but as things that go together, just like our body and soul. This is why we have the sacraments where grace is given not just spiritually, but also involves physical touch. God the Father touches us physically in the waters of baptism. God the Holy Spirit touches us physically in the sacrament of chrismation, where after baptism we're anointed with the chrism of oil, which by the way is 33 different oils, all combined chrisms. It's a very complicated process to make it. God the Son touches us physically in the sacrament of marriage, where He Himself becomes the binding tie between the two. And in the sacrament of sacraments, Holy Communion, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit together touch us physically. And not only do they touch us, but they embrace us and they enter into our very being, where the Father envelops the Holy Communion. He sends the Spirit onto and into the gifts and changes them into Christ's body and blood, who thereafter is present fully in humanity and divinity. We have that physical contact inseparably combined, touching each one of our senses, being able to see the beauty of God's grace, touching His physical creation through icons. But let me tell you, the most important icons that are here are not these ones. They're sitting right next to you. They're us, each other. We're all living icons, made in the image of God. That's why I sense you all through the church, because you're living images of God. Living bearers of the image of God. Which with a capital I, of course, is Christ. We are all icons. And in being able to touch these things, being able to hear the divine words that are spoken and sung throughout the liturgy and participate in them. So being able to speak them and hear them ourselves, speaking them or singing them. But also being able to smell the incense or the flowers and plants sometimes that we bring on feasts. When I get out the censer and I add incense, by the way, I say the prayer, incense we offer you, O Christ our God, is an odor of spiritual fragrance. Receive it upon your heavenly altar and send down on us in return the divine grace and the gift of your all Holy Spirit. And we see in the book of Revelation in Isaiah that incense is offered in heaven. And it says that the smoke of the incense arises with the prayer of the saints before this throne of God. This is another physical connection of a spiritual reality, a connection of earth to heaven. And all these miraculous connections are happening all at one time, right now, during the divine liturgy. Yes, we humans need physical contact, physical intimacy. We may pray, but I would suggest that you pray while gazing upon an icon of the Lord at least once a day, and one that you're particularly drawn to. I told you before, I have one right next to my bed, and there's two images of Christ that I see when I wake up in the morning. One's to my left, and that's my wife, the other's to my right, and that's the image of the Lord that's there. Beautiful. And I'm able to say a prayer, so I say my morning prayer to start out the day, gazing upon the icon of the Lord that's right next to my bed. And by the way, husbands and wives, when is the last time that you just laid in bed or sat on the couch without the TV on or without your stupid phones in your hands and just held each other or cuddled up next to each other? And don't give me that you can't sleep if you're cuddled up next to each other. You don't have to hold each other all night. But I'm talking about disciplining yourselves to be mentally and physically close to each other by taking a few minutes of every day, just being physically near each other, holding hands or holding one another. Do this every day for a month with a little effort, and I guarantee that you'll feel closer to one another if you have felt distant for some time. Regardless, even if you feel close to one another, you'll still feel even more so, because that's how God made us, so psychosomatic beings. Again, don't smother each other, but at least for a few minutes. Have a just between you and me moment every day. Maybe some of you remember that April Wine song from the 80s, right? Just between you and me. Because there's a reason why you fell in love in the first place, and that is because you gazed into each other's eyes. And when you did so, you were gazing into the other part of the beautiful icon that God made of your marriage. Where God took a simple panel and set on it beautiful colors, and the new icon became something greater than the individual elements alone made. By the way, guys, you're the plain panel, she's the beautiful colors. Just so we're clear on that. No, but in reality, we're all plain panels, and God spreads grace on us, and we're transformed into a beautiful icon. This Lent, let's make every effort to draw near to God and to one another. Read His letters to you and talk to Him. Just as a soldier on the battlefield, which is what we are. The enemy is the devil. He's after our souls. He's after our church, Christ Church. And He gave to us. Let's march on with the greatest thing that we have, which is prayer. And prayer, indeed, is supernatural. And through it, God will overcome the world if we exactly think. God strengthen you and keep you this great night as we press on towards the glorious annual feast of the resurrection. In the name of the Father, and of the Son,